Well, for our final series of the day, we go all the way to that third and final map. No surprise there. These two teams both fighting for their chance to move on further in the tournament bracket. Again, both of these teams already qualifying for the closed event with Riot in just a couple of weeks. This is the Valorant First Strike Closed Qualifiers presented by Nerd Street Gamers. I'm your host, Bach. Joining me on the broadcast, Simo and Doug. And we were kind of curious what we were going to get out of this situation, and what ends up happening is Sentinels comes back to life in that second map and forces us to a third map. There was still opportunity there towards the end, though, Simo. It looked like potentially we were going to see 100 Thieves force it to overtime.
You know, we don't know a whole lot about this 100 Thieves roster in terms of what they're capable of on each map. We can only base it off of what we see in the closed and the open qualifier. For the Sentinels, they have something like an 80+% win rate, 80+% win rate on split over the course of their entire career. This is a map that they know inside and out, no problem. So for 100 Thieves to keep it at least competitive, keep it at least close, is definitely interesting, definitely something to consider. But for the Sentinels, we saw a lot of teabaggery, which means they were very comfortable throughout the entirety of that map. They weren't really sweating, they weren't concerned, but now it all, of course, boils down to Haven, where I think they will start to sweat a little bit more.
Doug, do you agree that maybe Haven could be a little bit better here for 100 Thieves, or is it possible that Sentinels is going to take the series 2-1? Coming into it, you would just look at the teams on paper and you'd say, well, 100 Thieves doesn't really have a whole lot of results, and compared to Sentinels, they haven't accomplished as much, so this should be Sentinel series to take. But 100 Thieves has really impressed us all tournament long, getting to this point and also knocking out some serious competition and leaving them in their wake. Is there a possibility of 100 Thieves kind of knocking Sentinels out of the bracket at this point and moving on into the finals?
I think so. I really do. The thing about this map, and this is why I'm so excited about going to Haven, is that both of these squads are very good on it. In the close qualifier, Sentinels 2-0 on Haven. In the open qualifier, Sentinels 2-0 on Haven. For 100 Thieves, 3-1 in the open and an 0-1 so far in the close qualifier. So maybe not the same results, but 100 Thieves showing proficiency on this map. On both, on the close side, or excuse me, on the open side, less so on the close side. Either way, this map, it is honestly one of my favorites. The 3 sites and the complexity that it brings, it really does boil down to a chess match in a lot of ways. So for this to be a stronger map for both of these squads, it's just going to deliver. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, I think ultimately Haven has become probably one of my favorite matches to watch, or maps to watch for that matter, when it's high caliber teams. I think that they bring a lot to the table. There's a lot of creativity. And when we're looking at the two teams we've got just that. We've got 100 Thieves and we've got Sentinels, both of whom feel comfortable on the map. So I'm genuinely curious to see which direction this is going to go, but I do feel like it's going to be exciting. It doesn't feel like it was all that long ago that we had TSM and Sentinels duking it out in that back-to-back overtime game just a few months ago during the Ignition series. And I feel like those results have really kind of instilled it to me that Haven is the best map in the map pool. At least when you come down to two really strong teams playing at this level, I feel like Haven creates so many explosive moments, and we've seen that all tournament long from various teams. We've seen huge plays. I remember Hayes having a couple pop-off plays earlier in the tournament, I think even specifically today, and we've seen that from others, but some of the plays just constantly like burned into the back of my mind. And looking at the history in general of the game, looking back at like the Ignition series as well, we've seen some massive pop-offs on the C site from players like Caboose, players like Dicey. So I don't know. I'm excited. I just want to see what's going to happen. I want to see whether or not 100 Thieves has what it takes to upset Sentinels and move on into the finals tomorrow. And they'll be facing off, I believe, against Envy, if I'm not mistaken. That game taking place over on the B stream. We can go ahead and take a look at that bracket. Yeah, in fact, that was Envy. Envy was able to beat Renegades 2-1 in that other semifinal. Envy really looking solid throughout this tournament as well, but Renegades was kind of a surprise, Simo. I don't think anyone anticipated that Renegades would be in this position.
Yeah, I don't think they're too hurt to lose to Envy. They made it so far throughout this bracket. They managed to qualify. They addressed a very difficult opponent in the qualification process, taking Cloud9 2-0. That's not something I think anybody had predicted in, you know, their Spike GG predictions or whatever. But now we're also seeing a different look on the opposite side of the bracket. 100 Thieves also, I think, surprising a lot of people. Imagine a world where TSM doesn't auto-qualify as the first 4 teams moving forward. You statistically think, based on all of the Ignition Series performances, that TSM, Cloud9 both making it through, but 2 surprising new teams coming to the fold and taking both of them down accordingly. I think if 100 Thieves lose to Sentinels here, it's not the end of the world. You've already qualified. You can sit and study your opposition for the next couple of weeks. Just chill, VOD review, see how the other teams are playing, hide your scrims, do what you got to do, and that is a delight to see.
Let's not forget, too, that when we came into the open qualifier, there was a few teams that we hadn't really seen anything of, and this was one of them. The other teams that we really hadn't seen anything of, or at least much of, were teams like Renegades, or not Renegades, excuse me, Energy. Mixed up I went RNG instead of NRG. You know, Energy, we hadn't seen a whole lot from them when we had high expectations, and that team got knocked out in the open qualifier portion. We had other teams as well that got knocked out in the open qualifier that we've seen more of, that we were hoping, okay, maybe this team's finally going to take things to the next level. A team like FaZe, for instance. So the fact that 100 Thieves has already cut through some of those teams to get to this point illustrates that this project is indeed working out, and it's not just hype based around the names, but we are getting ready to go into the third and final map of the series, semifinals here, seeing who's going to be moving on into the finals tomorrow. Will it be Sentinels or will it be 100 Thieves? Let's find out.
Thank you, Bach. Yes, indeed. Let's find out. It all comes down to this. One last map for the day to determine who's going to advance to the grand finals, who's going to win between 100 Thieves and Sentinels. And shocker, ladies and gentlemen, Asuna goes aggressive. They get 2 picks early on.
Yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought that was going to happen? Of course, Sentinels do answer back, but Hiko, is it a surprise that he finds a shock dart kill? Steel going to try to lurk from the side. Now it's down to 1 final player. Headshot's going to send Shazam down. Are we going to see some tea bags? We're going to see just 1, and that's honestly all you need to get your tea piping hot.
But again, like the aggression with which 100 Thieves, with which, excuse me, 100 Thieves continue to play is just so impressive to me. They are sticking to their DNA. That's the way they want to play the game. They don't care about what's at stake. They don't care about who's on the other side of the map. They're going to play their style, and it's going to be on Sentinels to figure out if they can handle it or not.
So looking back at that TSM match, 100 Thieves were not very comfortable on the defensive side. It finished, a couple of tip taps with the Stinger. Does injure Sinatra, but he'll at least survive. But 100 Thieves choosing the defensive, they won the coin flip. They choose the defensive side first. They were a lot more potent on the attack. So they're just trying to have the best half possible. And it starts out quite well by winning the pistol. We'll see, though, how long that lasts.
You see how much space Sentinels have established over up C long. And sure enough, that's exactly where the spike is rotating. Asuna's going to get his chance. He threatened plenty of times out of that garage door and finally delivers as he takes care of Shazam. Meanwhile, Sentinels trying to mosey their way up C long are met by Nitro. He already has second on the round and he continues to push the matter. They know exactly where the spike is. They can hunker around it at this point and just lock down the rest of the round.
All down to Dapper with a shorty and a Dream, 28 HP, just trying to spread those bullets wide. Flawless round for 100 Thieves, and that's ultimately what you want moving into this this third round. It's a gun round for the Sentinels, and this is where things are going to start to hurt. But the fact that Dicey has invested in the operator, I think it's a little counterintuitive. Like, this is where you just want to let those weapons go. If you win this round, great. But if you're buying an operator, yeah, you can see he's selling that and doubling back. It's not the best idea when your team is not investing either. But he's still going to buy a Phantom. A couple of members will. We'll see if they find some upgrades off the floor and how Sentinels deal with this upcoming round.
See the smoke coming down early on up across B to ensure that no aggression is coming from Sentinels that way. And they're playing this far more passively. And here's the thing, when you see a team, especially on the defending side, that's just going to continue to be aggressive over and over and over again, you just sit back and wait, right? Like, you know they're going to come to you. You can deal with that when they come your way, or at least you can attempt to. It's certainly much easier said than done. Sick getting a big opening pick there onto Dicey. The spike now is going to head its way over on A. You see resources from 100 Thieves already rotating over as well. The one exception being the Phoenix, Asuna, who's going to show up a little bit later. But keep a close eye on the Omen on your minimap, folks. It's going to be late to the party. Steel drops down. Oh my gosh, he mows down Sentinel.
Oh my goodness, he does get flashed up in the process. Still 2 members remain on both sides, but weapons have been upgraded. Shock Dart's gonna hurt sick. He does have at least the Blaze Wall. Actually, Psych, that is the Blaze Wall on the opposite side. Suna playing that. Zom's just trying to take out Hedwig, shoots it
30
down.
seconds left.
That's an owl down, but still 2 players remain on both sides. Paranoia to give them a little bit more space, but shots come out from heaven. Now it's Asuna, finds the frag. It's all down to Sick. Phoenix v Phoenix. And the man in the mirror does win. Asuna taking Sentinels down. They win a very important round as it pertains to the economy. Sentinels now likely down to an economic disadvantage.
And they're able to bring 2 rifles into the next round. What that does is that allows Hiko, I believe it was Hiko, oh no, it was actually Asuna, who bought down a little bit. Hiko's still going to have plenty of money to work with as well. Some of the finances were spread. Everybody's happy. And 100 Thieves continue to be able to play from a position of power. With 5 seconds left before the round starts, you're already seeing them assume some aggressive positions, a little bit of utility right outside of B. Asuna once again threatening outside of the garage door, and that's exactly where Sentinels are headed, Simo.
That they are. Sentinels have to worry about Asuna on the opposite side, but now he's going to be chased down, and as a result, you're going to see him fall. Weapon upgrade now for the Sentinels. More will start to come. Dicey in a little bit of a, so to speak, dicey situation. Higo trying to catch those flanks from the opposite side, provide support for Dicey, who's still back behind Plat. Camera comes through, shot's not going to work out. He's trying to keep himself in safety, but unfortunately he's starting to fall apart. He's still alive somehow, some way. Shazam takes him down. Hiko will find 2, down to the 1v1. With Shazam finding himself an upgrade, or did he? There was a lot on the ground there. He's going to try to plant that spike, or maybe look for Hiko. Guess who never came? Guess who never showed up? It's Hiko. Positioning was perfect. 100 Thieves win the round, but Doug, it was really expensive for them to do so.
It was another strong start by 100 Thieves. I think the important thing to talk about in that round is just how long Dicey was able to stay alive. All of the shenanigans that took place back behind C allowed Hiko enough time to rotate over, and it was just shooting fish in a barrel. At that point, 5-0-5, he was just picking them apart, isolate things down to a 1v1, and from that point, he just had to win that straight-up gunfight, a little bit of ring around the rosy, and he was able to take care of things. So it looked dicey for him to be dancing around like that. I really don't mean to be doing that.
It's tough.
It really is. But it bought enough time, and that was the difference maker in that round.
Listen, sometimes we all have a daughter or a son somewhere in the world. Those dad jokes, we just can't help them. They just come out, the dad jokes come through, and we can't avoid them. There's nothing we can do to stop it. We just got to let it breathe. We also have to see how Sentinels are going to let this A site hit breathe, as they've already made their way on. In 100 Thieves, we saw the 2-man peek towards that C-long side. We saw it pretty much all day. Dicey and Asuna, 2-man peek, 2-man peek, 2-man peek. But this time they look in the wrong direction. Sentinels wanted that A site, and now we're going to have to deal with an Asuna flank.
Yeah, there's not going to be a Hunter Suri to cancel that out through the wall. They have an idea of somebody being up in heaven, and it's going to be Hiko. Asuna's going to be coming around the flank as well. Hiko gets the best of Zoms. Steel flushes his way onto the site. They believe, they were able to detain one. Asuna goes in, flashes 2, but gets punished anyway.
Yeah, but they just stuck to defuse. They really managed to push Sentinels back, and now it's down to a couple of members. Oh, Nitro's hunting. We'll see if he's able to find one. No, time runs out. 5 rounds in a row is a scary sight for Sentinels fans, because 100 Thieves were a little bit more potent on the offensive side against TSM. It was an 8-4 finish for the first half, with TSM on the defense 4 rounds up. Sorry, TSM on the attack 4 rounds up over 100 Thieves. And so for the Sentinels, they need something here. A couple of Bulldogs is not going to work out, but they're trying to make ends meet after 5 difficult rounds. It's close. It's been close, but it's not been close enough.
Oh, man, a good smoke. I think the other thing worth remembering is that 100 Thieves have come out of the gate swinging for every single map, right? Like, they've had an early lead, and Sentinels have been able to respond. At least they were in map 2. Sentinels still on the attacking side here. They showed some presence over by C. Didn't like what they saw. Got the yips pulled back out, but now they're going to work their way up garage. Asuna is going to be there. Asuna, who's made highlight play after highlight play, in a position once again to make something special happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, the entire team of Sentinels were spraying through that door. It was only a matter of time before one of those bullets land. You know, shooting fish in a barrel. Eventually, you find the fish, and all that's left is water and a dead fish, and that's exactly what happened to Asuna. But for the rest of 100 Thieves, they've got to worry about this eventual push towards the C site. They now start to see them start to come through. There's a battle of Jet v Jet, but Steel has Dicey's back covered. Down to the 4v3. Here comes the Frenzy. Finds its mark onto Zams. And now it's a 3v2. Sinatra and company, they're on the site, but they are in dire trouble. It all boils down to a 1v1. Hiko versus Dapper, and Dapper finds the 4K. And Sentinels put a round on the docket. It was looking real sour there for a moment, but all in the hands of Dapper. He saves the team and finds the round.
And Hiko once again was in an isolated 1v1 position where all he had to do was take care of that and win the round. And while it was successful the first time, comes up just a bit short here. Still a very strong performance from him so far, 6-1 and 6. Steel leading the scoreboard, for 100 Thieves yet again at 8-3 and 1. You see Asuna getting in on the action as well. Overall, a really strong start for 100 Thieves, but Sentinels getting that round on the board was absolutely huge. It was imperative for the rest of this half.
Once again, guess who's double peeking together? Dicey and Asuna, but unfortunately it's the wrong read. They're anticipating a C push, which is standard on Haven, but Sentinels want nothing to do with that. They're all worked up about this A site. Nitro's gonna find one, Paranoia is gonna help him out, and he's gonna get into a 50 angle, which benefits him immensely. We'll see if the curveball ends up being used. No, it's not. Sick will find it regardless, and now it's a 4v4 with the A site spike going down momentarily.
Keep an eye on Dicey and Asuna rotating back from opposite sides towards the map. If the fight can prolong long enough, they're going to be able to deal some serious damage. See, the spike has gone down at the hands of Dapper as Steel tries to provide a little bit of utility. Dicey trying to go up over the top with the Blade Storm, not going to spot anyone yet. They're just going to have to straight up fight for this site. Dicey gets flashed up. He's going to have to back off. And we're starting to see some of the rotation presence there. But oh man, Shazam with the operator is able to get a huge pick onto Steel. Dicey's going to get taken out as well. Sentinels have been able to hold fast.
At least Hiko finds frag onto Sinatra. You already see the positioning there from Asuna. He's waiting for those exits. Coming that way is Shazam and Dapper. Asuna has pulled back a little bit, maybe hearing the call from the IGL to say, hey, don't look for exits, save those weapons. We need some momentum moving into the next round. So Operator will stay in the hands of Hiko. That'll go back to Dicey the next round. Asuna will also have a weapon. A couple of ult orbs away as well from the run it back. That may be a factor to consider. The rest of the team, Hiko and Nitro, have their ultimates available. While on the opposite side, the Sentinels a little worse for wear in terms of what they can use this round on the ultimates. For 100 Thieves, a different look. Once again, the double man peak from 100 Thieves, this time towards the A side. This is going to be what 100 Thieves need to shut down this A side push.
Yeah, they're investing a lot that way. Meanwhile, Sentinels, oh, they'll show a little bit of presence that way, but it looks like most of their attention is being drawn towards B. And yeah, they're just going to mosey their way up. They're going to follow the Owl Drone as clearance and get in there. The alarm bot's going to go off, but the spike is going to go down anyway. You hear the 100 Furies being used to try to clear some of that off the site. Steel was waiting on the other side, but he gets the business at the hands of Sick.
It will be nullified by the Hunter's Fury from Hiko. He manages to find one. Asuna doubling back. There is some presence there from the Sentinels. 100 Thieves just looking for a way to open up back into the site. The flank from Asuna is starting to work out. He needs to heal himself back up. That's the wall that goes up. There's a player over there, sees him wide, and takes him down. The 3v3 is all that remains, and the spike is still ticking.
Yeah, but they've smoked off the entrance. They're going to force them to peek or just blindly fire through the smoke to try to stop the defuse. Meanwhile, Hiko's starting to stick it. He gets it to halfway, and he gets taken out. Nitro's still up. However, as Sick continues to go aggressive, the Molly was able to take him out. He goes in onto the site. He's flashed him up. Dicey's taken out. A 1v1, and Nitro goes in. I don't know if he's going to have time. He might have gotten it if he stuck it, but no, he pulled off for just a second.
Oh man, that is so brutal. That is so brutal. Those are the types of decisions that make or break a game. Look at the economy. It's going to be 100 Thieves soft buying this round. Not going to be able to full buy. Man, what a rough position to be in. That is the make or break difference between resetting the loss bonus and putting the Sentinels back in a position where they're getting 1900, then 2400. That breaks their economy. So now the rest of this half really boils down to how many more rounds Sentinels can do to catch up.
100 Thieves had an opportunity there. Unfortunately, it slips out of their fingertips. But again, as we've seen from the boys in blue, they're going to continue to play their style. I don't expect to see much different. Sentinels have dashed all their way up onto C. Nobody's home. There's no one there to defend the site quite yet. Now you see members starting to rotate over the drone. Is going to be the first one through. Shazam's going to spot it, take it out, and there's the lockdown. It's going to be a straight up 5v5 for the site, Simo.
Not a lot of lurking prowess from 100 Thieves. They're all just going to brute force their way back in. Use the run it back to clear up the site. That's going to be a curveball that hurts, as Shazam will be taken down. They're going to try to defuse the spike. Paranoia is going to make things a little bit more difficult. They're still going to send those shots in. But once again, they're just trying to defuse the spike. Now Six starts to break his way open onto the side. The curveball is going to help out. Nico will find one, and he's just trying to make things expensive. He's going to bring it down to a 1v2 Sinatra as he leaves the smoke, finds that frag onto Hiko, but still, look at how expensive that round was for the Sentinels.
Dude, Sick has been out of control this map. There was another instance in there which he was able to get, it was 2 or 3 kills. That last one, it was just filthy. Sick is just playing out of his mind right now. 11-7. He is leading the charge for Sentinels. He's answered the call for his squad every single time. That guy's just out of his mind.
We also have to remind ourselves the attack is where things are a little bit more beneficial for 100 Thieves. Asuna once again, but this time he's alone. He doesn't need Dicey all the time. He can do the heavy lifting himself. Finds himself in an engagement. He will lose that one, but things have been traded out in the courtyard in the meantime. It's down to the 3v2. Dapper just trying to use the neural theft to spot out where those members are located and loses his life in the process. It's all down to one final player, Sinatra. Hunter's Fury in tow, shock darts galore, recon bolt as well. This could be a round where he could try to at least get a pick or two in the defusal process, if he doesn't die beforehand.
Yeah, that turret really can be a nuisance. If nothing else, he's going to get the spike down, right? And that's going to get him a couple of credits. I don't know that he's going to be able to do a whole lot else with 8 health. Nitro just disposes of him, and they're going to get the spike defused as well. 100 Thieves is going to take a 2-round lead, and they're looking good right now.
Still could see this half finish 6-6. It's when we get to the second half that I'm going to start to worry for Sentinels. It's a half that 100 Thieves were very potent on, but they were down in the initial half against TSM. 8-4 was the scoreline. TSM led by 4 moving into the second half. So Sentinels, their best case scenario is 6-6, but the economy is a little worse for wear. If they lose this round, they're not going to have a chance at redemption. The loss bonus has been reset. They'll be down to 2,400 incoming credits for that for this next round, and they won't have a lot to work with in that third round if they lose this. So let's see what type of dire straits they have to bring out. They've got to run it back. They've got to Hunter's Fury. There's a lot that they can use, but it starts with this pick here. It doesn't come to fruition. Asuna, can he find the refrags?
Yeah, he's already been tagged up pretty badly. It looks like he's going to get flashed as well, but he does it through the flash anyway. Oh my gosh, Asuna gets 2!
Crazy. This is why these two members from the Immortals roster were brought in. Asuna and Dicey are spectacular, as is Nitro. Dispatching of the Sentinels completely. The hold in the garage was all off the back of Asuna. He re-engaged his targets with the curveball and had enough time to also back away and just hold down the spray. All the hours in the practice range finally paying off. And the Sentinels, as I highlighted, look at that. Stingers and Spectres across the board. Not a lot to work with moving into this last and final round.
No, Zom's the only one who's going to be able to bring in a rifle. A slower start to this map for the Omen player for Sentinels, but they're certainly still within striking distance. A 7-5, and we mentioned that it may not be as advantageous for them on second half, but you never know what's going to happen. As soon as it goes in aggressively, he's able to get that orb to get that run it back. He goes in, not able to get anyone, and unfortunately is going to be boxed in there. Yeah, that positioning, they just had to play aggressively on there after the clone was taken out, and Asuna gets taken out.
Yeah, and I think it's also a good call for 100 Thieves to just pull back. There's no reason to risk Eco's life either, or Dicey's life either for that unfortunate play. If Asuna finds a pick, then sure, go ahead, push up. But now Sentinels, they actually also upgrade a weapon off of that too, and they smoke off the heaven side to not allow them to see that happen, or to see if they even poked their head in. So a B-site plan here for Sentinels. 4 members remain for 100 Thieves. Let's see how they end up playing this out.
Wow, we haven't seen a plant like this. We haven't seen an offensive look from Sentinels like this the entire half. You see they've smoked off both cuts. Members of 100 Thieves are starting to rotate around to try to apply pressure from both sides. Steel driving that Nano Swarm, and boy, that's going to hurt, but it doesn't matter. Zombs goes in and gets the kill anyway. Nitro trades it out as Sick joins in on the fray. Sentinels with the numbers advantage still as the spike continues to tick away and away. Hiko in a 1v4 makes that a 1v3. The heroics from Hiko time and time again. He spots one, he just taps it, and then Fling not able to get the guy in the window. The Stinger from downtown at the hands of Sinatra, winning that gunfight.
Switching sides.
7-5 at half for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and you know, if we had seen something like that from 100 Thieves versus the TSM match, I'd imagine that that map wouldn't have went as long as it did to overtime. And so we'll have to be paying attention to how 100 Thieves fight back in this second half, but also really the Sentinels, what they've got in the tank. We haven't seen a whole lot from them in terms of Haven throughout the entirety of the open and close qualifier, or at least, well, a lot of their maps, a lot of their games have been relatively dominant, so we don't have the biggest sample size in comparison to what other teams have brought to the forefront. You know, a lot of other teams dropping down to losers, having to play more matches. Most recently, notable, Sentinels beating Envy 13-6, beating Dignitas 14-12. So this is not exactly a map that they're super afraid of, but as we highlighted in the pregame, 100 Thieves are also very proficient on this map.
Steel showing proficiency with the Sheriff on this map. Gets the opening kill onto Zombs. A lot of presence through Garage for members of 100 Thieves. Steel goes in, however, and he gets taken out as soon with the Frenzy still making it seem sick. Still trying to keep things in bay as he's just getting pushed around and members flood from all over the place. The guy had no place to go. Nothing was safe. Hiko and the rest of 100 Thieves are going to get the spike down.
I think for Shazam here, you just sit tight. You may be looking for an exit or two, or somebody tries to force the issue, just trade out. But it's not something that we tend to see a whole lot of. You're down in a 1v4 scenario. He tries to preemptively fire, hoping that he'd find somebody there. There was somebody there. Just, you know, when you're rearranging the furniture in your house, sometimes you just got to say a little to the left. Move that couch a little to the right, a little to the left, and boom. Perfect. The feng shui works out. So unfortunately, feng shui not in the hands of Shazam there, but there will be an opportunity in that third round when guns get online for the Sentinels.
And you know, we mentioned in the last map, there was a point at which the financial implication or the financial situation was going to have significant impact on the following rounds, and it was 100 Thieves who were down at that point. Sentinels really on the cusp here, finding themselves in something similar. If this round goes in favor of 100 Thieves, which so far so good, they're going to find themselves up 9-5. Sentinels is going to have to respond there pretty quickly. They lose out when they're in serious trouble. So Sentinels getting that pick onto Steel is absolutely important.
You know, one of the main things that I love about watching Valorant is seeing pro players shake as they're holding down the spray. Like, they are as nervous as we are watching them trying to land those shots. And it just shows that they're human. You know, they're not robots playing this game. We're not watching 5 AI versus 5 AI. We're watching some real humans play Valorant, and it's a beautiful sight to see. Looking at the beautiful shots here from Asuna. It's all down to one final player. Once again, Shazam. See if that furniture works out this time. So far, it's not a good look. He's got to reload the clip down to 32 HP. Asuna still chasing him down. Those shoulder peaks are deadly. As Asuna will find a 3K on the round. Sentinels, like I said, now they'll have the ability to come join the party. Guns online. Let's see what they've got cooking.
And 100 Thieves have a decision to make here. We just saw Hiko force up. That's exactly what I was going to touch on. They can bring the same lighter guns that they've had into the next round and just put money in the bank that they could cash in on later, or they could roll the die a little bit, force up at least a little bit, and attempt to secure the round even more. For Sentinels to lose this round this late in the half with the round deficit at what it is could be absolutely devastating. 100 Thieves bought up a little bit more, but they did not fully do so. There are still going to be a couple of SMGs. On the attacking side, they're starting to show some presence over by A. It was going to be a split play, and the first blood goes over in favor of Sentinels. Run it back is used to try to clear out the side as Zombs goes in.
Oh.
And 100 Thieves, they just rotate away. Nobody's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, the old bait and switch. They gather a lot of membership from the Sentinels towards this A side. But so far, it's really just the reads. Sentinels actually funnel out. They don't have information yet, though. They don't know if this C side has been hit. The recon bolt is going to at least keep them around temporarily. They're going to start to push forward. Here's the action that is about to unfold before very as Curveball is going to help out. Unfortunately, the frag does not. It's the rest of the Sentinels that are able to find the picks necessary, all down to Hiko. Just like that, the push kind of sits at a standstill. Hiko just trying to escape, maybe save that weapon, but this is the round that we anticipated Sentinels really coming to the forefront, and they needed to be fair. If they lose that one, it's 10-5, economy sucks, it's 11-5, and 100 Thieves are ever so close to going to that grand final spot.
You know, and I think that round ultimately comes down to the thinnest of timing margins, right? Like we saw members of Sentinel start to rotate away from A as things got very quiet all of a sudden, and it was actually the dart that came back out from Hiko that kind of cued Sentinels into thinking, wait a second, they might still be here, and then the smokes from Nitro certainly secured it. So that the thing is, the members of Sentinels on the defending side were not far away enough at the point at which 100 Thieves tipped their hand, and they were able to just pull right back, and the resources were there very quickly. This time around, once again, it looks like it's going to be a hit on A, but things looking a bit better for folks over in red.
Yep, they break open onto the site. The Sewers battle definitely not going the way Sentinels have hoped. And, you know, to be fair, throughout the entirety of the day, we've seen a lot of presence, and really throughout the entirety of the week, a lot of presence towards that Sewer side. And while Haven does tend to feel like who can hit C the hardest on their attacking side, the A side is still a possibility. It's still there. It's still a site that was introduced in this map. And 100 Thieves winning that battle in the Sewers, really opening up this hit down to 2 final players. Sinatra drops down and gets a little heroic, down to the 2v3, finds another, down to the 2v2, down to just him. The recon bolt reveals where he is. Nano Swarm's not going to help out at all, but he's going to chase them down. He knows exactly where they're located, playing towards that long side. But Steel's wrapping around. The Diffusal's about to start to come through. Steel sees the angle, and the 100 Thieves are up by double digits. Well, not up by double digits, but they reach double digits, lead by 4.
All right, let's take a look at the finances for Sentinels. A mixed bag. Again, you see a Stinger, rifles elsewhere, but then a little bit of lighter armor for Sick and for Shazam. It's not going to be everything that they would want to bring into this thing. On the attacking side for 100 Thieves, they've shown success in a number of different areas, primarily over by that A site. But we haven't seen anything spicy up C, and it doesn't look like it's going to be the case this time around either. One ultimate to work with in the hands of Hiko, the Hunter Siri, to try to clear out of sight should they avail themselves of that resource. But for now, I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. They're going to hit A again.
Shazam and Zoms will be there to hold down the front line if they can. No operator in the hands of Shazam. He's just going to hold the higher angle. Shot's going to be good onto Asuna. That's going to dissuade the push temporarily, but 100 Thieves still in the vicinity. Nano Swarm to clear the right side. Recon Bolt still pulses and does reveal where he's located. Now Hiko's about to start to get involved. Steel finds the opening pick, but Shazam trades it out in kind. The spike is down, and Dapper's got a lowly little stinger. Can he make it work? Yes, he can. It's traded down to 1 final player. Hiko with the Bulldog. Unfortunately, the leash is not very long. Sinatra will take him down, trail by 3.
And they take 2 rifles into the next one. That was a really big round for Sentinels to keep this thing competitive, to stay in the financial conversation of everything that's going on. You lose that one, you're sitting in a very uncomfortable situation. So even with that win in mind, they're still going to be bringing in 2 Spectres. Again, just kind of highlighting the point that I was previously making. On the side of 100 Thieves, they're down to scraps, folks. It's going to be pistols across the board. I imagine we're going to see a bit of a hot and heavy hit here. Maybe something that stacks a bit more, knowing that they're just going to have pistols and both Blade Storms in play here.
Still can be a factor in terms of getting some damage done. A side relatively clear. I'd imagine Sentinels might be anticipating some sort of play terms of, you know, the economy not really working out for 100 Thieves. The lockdown has dropped. Sinatra finds Asuna on the site, but they pulled the resources off of the Sentinels. They had a player on site. They had the lockdown as well. Steel may be looking for a couple of players in rotation. Yep, there is a player up in heaven. And now here's the footsteps as well. He's going to try to shimmy on over while he slow walks in the moonlight, while the rest of 100 Thieves will get that spike down and have to worry about how they're going to stop them from defusing it. One tag's come through. That's the slice, and the dice goes on to Dicey. The Blaystorm will answer back. You know, it was a good idea from 100 Thieves, but it didn't work out in the bigger picture.
Was it?
I mean, they pulled them off the site. It worked successfully. They got the spike down. And if Steel finds lurk kills, then sure. But it's the eco. What do you expect? Like an ace? Like, it's not going to be that easy.
No, I question the use of the Killjoy ultimate there, right? Like, I understand what it was doing, but it's not like you had a ton of firepower to go the opposite way. They invested a very costly ult to try to draw some resources over. It was just it was a high-risk play, is what it was. And I understand 100 Thieves trying to catch him slipping and maybe make a Mona Lisa out of a really bad situation, knowing that they don't have guns really to fight back with, but ultimately it doesn't pan out, and they don't have the lockdown for this next round.
Oh, he still hasn't used the run it back, or is this the run it back? This is the run it back.
Yes,
so he was just trying to chase him down. It's a little weird seeing the run it back, but he still has his ultimate available, but I'd imagine that's the whole point. Oh, Sinatra catches him trying to escape. Great shots coming out from him, so that running back is nullified, and all the ground that they covered on the C site is gone. But guess what? Steel's been over towards that A site the entire time. They could just pull off. They're just looking for exits here, or committing their resources to this C site. Selling the fake once again. Nitro playing contact to any of the members rotating through and behind the B site. Sooner will start to pull back, but that spike still hasn't made its way over towards the A site. I really wonder what 100 Thieves are planning here, because Steel has gotten so much ground on this A site.
I just don't think they have enough information up until now. Now they feel a little bit more comfortable about rotating. Now that Steel's gotten up in heaven, they know, or he knows, excuse me, he's behind enemy lines. Nitro, if he's not careful, the timing might not work out for him, and it works out for him indeed. Shazam and his operator out for the rest of the round. 100 Thieves with personnel advantage. Sentinels just down to 2. They got pulled all over the map, and the freaking ruse is up. 100 Thieves have planted the spike on A. Now they know what's been going on behind the scenes, and at this point, for Sentinels, it's too late.
Not gonna lie, I don't think Sentinels chase this down. I think they dot their I's and cross their T's, make sure their homework's all in clear, and that they don't have to worry about fighting 100 Thieves. They're still gonna poke their head through, or, you know, gather some information, gather some intel. Nitro's on the hunt. He wants to see if he can find anybody lurking around. He's going to be avoided by Zoms, because Zoms is just a turret watching, but he will find Dapper momentarily. Watching up, watching above. He's waiting. Is there anyone else there? Shot's going to be good. Zoms will be the last player standing, so that's at least a weapon out. I like that Nitro went for that. They want to try to nullify that economy, keep them suppressed here on the Sentinels. An inch ever so closer, ever so closely, to that grand final spot.
They're not fully broke, but it's not going to be enough to buy a full rifle. Sick is going to have a Bulldog. Well, never mind. I lied. He's going to be bringing in the Phantom and light armor, buying all the way down. Meanwhile, 100 Thieves have money for days. Looks like a relatively standard defensive spot out of Sentinels early on. No presence towards mid, but they've got a little something happening in garage like we've seen a couple of times. He's going to get smoked out and darted. Know exactly where he is, and he's not going to be able to see anything back. That's going to allow Asuna to work his way in following the drone. He's going to continue to push in. Sick, however, is going to get the best of him. That upgrade on the weapon was exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, Asuna was really just trying to push the extreme there. He's like, I really don't want to get revealed by that recon bolt, but I also want to find a pick here, but it doesn't really work out, and as a result, Sick feels a little bit more comfortable pushing through the garage since they got so much control finding that pick. And one at a time, 100 Thieves just on separate occasions will fall apart. 2 members will remain. This is likely Sentinels answering back. A 2v5 is no easy task. Doable, but the percentage of possibility is very slim. Nevertheless, they will try as they work their way up A long and then back down again.
There's not a ton of options. They really don't have a ton of intel. No idea on understanding if anything is safe. And I think the important thing to note is Sentinels here are just holding strong, right? They aren't fishing. They aren't chasing after them or playing aggressively. They're just sitting back. They know that there are two ways this pans out. Either 100 Thieves going aggressively, and they have resources everywhere to try to take care of the offensive move from 100 Thieves, or they just sit back and they're going to carry all of their weapons into the next round. Take a look at the money that Sentinels has at this point. Them playing passively in order to keep their weapons is huge. Of course, as I say that, Shazam moseys his way up a long.
Yeah, but you're right. Sentinels aren't really feeling so hot right now. A couple of members may still push the limits, Sinatraa and Shazam, but if you're going to ask me who's going to be the one to push the limits, it would be those two players. And looking at the leaderboard, Shazam hasn't had the best game. To be fair, we haven't really seen, this so-called operator duel between Dicey and Shazam. The economy just hasn't really called for it, especially this second half. Look at it. Win-loss, win-loss, loss-win, loss. The loss bonus has been reset so many times that you're seeing teams struggle to put something together. 100 Thieves are sitting a little bit prettier in terms of the economy, but it's not too far off from where Sentinels are sitting either. So we'll have to see how 100 Thieves break that, or if Sentinels will find the answer for it in the long run. Steel's going to find a pick onto Shazam. That's an important pick to take care of. And now he's just going to hold the angle. Alarmbot spots out where there's a player located. Now he's just going to survive and buy so much time for 100 Thieves to work their seaside angle.
Has 10 health. Sitting in this 50. Oh, Steel! Steel's able to take care of Sick. That's such a brutal spot, right? If you're Sick, knowing that things turned out that way. He was so weak. Nitro's going to teleport all the way into A, and Sinatra's there with warm opening arms, taking care of that teleport and nullifying that advance. Sinatra's still going to be sitting over on that A site. Not a ton of room for 100 Thieves to work with quite yet, but they're starting to mosey their way up. The one thing worth noting, Dicey's still hanging out over in mid, but Sinatraa continues to hold fast. The guy's impenetrable right now, but the thing is, 100 Thieves are going to continue to come.
They do manage to finally take him down. There's a player up in hell. I thought he was in heaven for some reason. That's definitely confusing to 100 Thieves as well, but Steel flanks around the box. He's been at 10 HP this entire time, but the spike still needs to be planted. Not much time remains, and Zombs is going to start to come in from the heaven side. There's a player looking up. The shots will connect. It's down to the 1v1. But Steel has been technically winning these consistently. Not going to win this one, though. Zombs drops down, and I have to really commend Sinatraa there. He really held down the site by himself. All by himself. Taking two individual 1v1s, coming out, nullifying what happened earlier with Steel. Steel's heroics could have ultimately won the entire round for his team. If they had just maybe opted in for the seaside instead, Sinatraa would have never been in a position to take down members one at a time.
Yeah, they really did just kind of walk right into him here. Sentinels bridging the gap, bringing it closer and closer to a tie ball game. 100 Thieves still have the lead. But folks, this is map 3. This is it. This one's going to close out the night. There's nothing else after this for the team that loses. Their tournament run is done. Sinatra's already been tagged up a considerable amount and is going to have to back up. You hear the lockdown has been used as Steel continues to get cooked right out of under his feet. He goes in aggressive because he knows exactly where the run it back is going to come from. That exactly is what he needed. It pays off. Dicey's still trying to hold things down on the C side. His members start to rotate over. He's already got 2 kills and continues to look for more. 1 left for Sentinels, and it's Sinatraa. Sinatraa in a 1v4. Now they know exactly where he is. Tried slicing and dicing that little guy, but it didn't work.
Okay,
Dart
so now
to get some info, but this is brutal.
Yeah, so now I gave a lot of credit to Sinatraa last time, but now I have to give a lot of credit to the 100 Thieves roster. They run that set C play we've seen that before, especially against TSM. They brute force their way into the garage, get that lockdown closer to the window, as close as possible, and allow Asuna to just pop off, push forward, get aggressive, really utilize what he's there to do, which is be the aggressive player that we know him to be, and work with Steel to gain that control. Once that lockdown is down, they continue to push forward. Why? The rest of the team is barreling down C long. the Sentinels don't really know how to react. Well, any team doesn't really know how to react because they have no idea how to react to this lockdown because they want to take care of it, but they can't when all of these different members are barreling from different angles, and the Sentinels didn't really understand how to deal with that attack plan.
Oh, Sick going in aggressive. He flashes up one and is able to take care of Asuna. Still working that angle, but Dicey actually gets the best of him. You heard the Hunter's Fury was used to try to clear out the site. Members of Sentinels are going to have to rotate their way over, but by the time they get here, it's going to be too little too late. Sentinels is just down to 3 members left. Dapper gets taken out as they continue to hold on to the site. Sentinels looking for a prayer here just to extend this map. They're outgunned, they're outnumbered, the spike is down, everything is going against them here.
Video of Sinatra and Shazam. Psych just Sinatra. Shots again. It's Nitro. He sends TSM down to the closed qualifier, and he takes out the Sentinels along the way. 100 Thieves will face off against Envy tomorrow. A spectacular run from the boys in red, and they will face off against the Dallas boys in blue tomorrow. Let's bring Bach back in after he's had time to recover from that spicy chip to talk about a spicy map 3.
Listen, I think that the chip has long since passed, and it has run its course. Again, I don't recommend that any of you at home ever do that to yourselves. But regardless, 100 Thieves look fantastic in their series win over Sentinels, a 2-1 victory here as they take the third and final map. I did say that that was going to happen, boys. I guess it's Nostrabacus back at it again. You know, chat, I sided with you guys. A lot of the 100 Thieves fans were out and about in the chat earlier tonight, and I kind of just rode the wave. I thought, hey, you know, this team is just continuing to trend upward, and I feel like they're just going to keep getting better. And I even said it earlier tonight on the broadcast. I think there's a possibility that this team could become potentially one of the best teams, or if not the best team. I think I even said, I think there is a serious realm where they become the #1 team in North America. Give them time, but they've got the prowess and they've got the skill to make that possible. And they also have the support of an organization like 100 Thieves. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay as well, just so we can see how things broke down across the series. Of course, the replay is presented by GoPuff. Use code NERDSTREET to get $4 off your first 4 orders. And you can see just how things kicked off here on Bind Doug. I mean, this one was pretty much all 100 Thieves. It felt like this was a very serious showing from them.
Yeah, it really was. And they just continue to impress, right? Like, we were all very impressed by them being able to take down 100 Thieves, but then for them to start off the series like this too, it was Hiko. Simo called it out specifically, right? Like, Hiko on Bind, that's a bad day for anybody on the receiving end of that because of all the utility and how well he plays that Sova, and he flexed on him a bit. I'm not going to lie to you. That's exactly what he did, and it was just pretty the entire time. The 100 Thieves guys, they're the real deal.
Yeah, but then when we switched maps and we jumped into map number 2, things kind of turned in a different direction as 100 Thieves, they didn't really have a stellar first half. We'll see some highlights here, but when you look at the scoreboard, 5 rounds on the attacking side here for Sentinels, I mean, at that point in the map is certainly enough. A solid first half from them on the attacking side. They end up finishing it out 7-5 before swapping over. That's a pretty difficult hurdle to overcome when you switch over to the attacking side of a map like Split. Simo, you know, are you a little bit worried about some weaknesses we potentially saw from 100 Thieves on this map? Or was it just Sentinels feeling very comfortable and very strong on it?
I mean, every team is going to have a weakness on a map, right? It's just the way it goes. There's every team, you know, Renegades, they're comfortable on Split. They're not so comfortable on a couple of other maps, and they got to work on that, and they know that. But, you know, for a team like the Sentinels, the one thing that I understand, I don't want to discredit the win from 100 Thieves. This was a hard-fought battle, a series that they definitely deserve to overcome. But I still think that there's just this element of I don't even know what to call it, but I just think we haven't seen, like, the true Sentinels that we saw in the Ignition Series tournaments. I still think that they're going to come back swinging. They've qualified. They're fine. Nothing is really the matter with their performance, but I just think, you know, we're going to see a different Sentinels come the top 8 First Strike Major. But 100 Thieves, a beautiful performance coming out from them. Every single player showed up today, and on different maps, it was a different player every time. You know, once it was Steel, once it was Hiko, once it was Asuna. Everybody participated, and it really showed that this 100 Thieves roster has come to play, and they've been practicing up until this point.
That was a bit of a rough round there. I remember watching that one happen. For whatever reason, a miscommunication there. Nitro taps the spike and then drops off of it thinking he doesn't have it. The team tells him, no, we got it to halfway. He turns back, 0.32 left on the clock. But in the end, they end up finding the big win. I mean, Steel played masterfully. This is ridiculous. The falling headshot coming in from Zoms, a little bit of luck and a combination of just good timing to catch his opponent off guard. But Steel played really well on that third and final map on Haven. That was when it felt like the Killjoy really clicked. In fact, they had one great retake on the A site where they dropped the Killjoy ult right outside of the A site and A connector right in the corner, and it flushed everyone all the way back to A long. They couldn't do anything about it. There was 2 players left when they defused the spike. So smart play coming out from Steel consistently throughout that third and final map is what allowed him to be in that position to begin with. And he's a player that we looked at early on in the series, struggling. But again, it's part of playing that role. You're not necessarily guaranteed to be a top performer. Your role is getting that information and kind of just being a controlling agent. Your role is to control the pace of the map. So good performance from him in the end, and good performance from 100 Thieves as well, who have continued to impress us throughout the tournament. We talked about it coming into it, Doug. Going into the open qualifier, we didn't know what to expect. And we were excited to see them pick up a first couple of wins. But they haven't stopped yet, and who knows what their ceiling might be, Doug.
Yeah, there really is no telling. I think there's just been a lot of excitement behind this squad since the roster was announced, and we waited for a little while to see when it was going to start to come together. On paper, it looks great, but when are the pieces going to finally start to mold? I want to take a quick look at the top 8 to see just how they got here and the teams that they were able to take out along the way, along with really the rest of the bracket. But a 2-0 on TSM, a 2-1 on Sentinels today. I mean, these guys over at 100 Thieves are the real deal. I know I've said that before, but it's working, right? Like all of the anticipation, all of the hype, all of the, well, you know, it's still 100 Thieves and, you know, this player's washed and this guy's unproven and blah, blah, blah. They're doubting, they're shutting up all of the haters right now. And this idea of like, it's just for seeding. That, honestly, I am thoroughly impressed by 100 Thieves, regardless of what was happening on the other side, because it wasn't just the teams weren't playing and they were just kind of like picking daisies out and not paying attention to what was going on. They were shooting well, and they were playing the maps really well. They showed intelligence in how they played the macro. It was a complete package out of 100 Thieves today.
I will say this, too. While we talk about 100 Thieves, in fact, if we can take a look back at that bracket as well, we'll pull that back up on screen in just a second. I want to illustrate the other team on the other side. Envy has been equally as impressive. When you look at the teams that actually made it into bracket play, it's kind of interesting in general. First of all, Renegades. Like, no one saw that one coming. Then Complexity, and then T1 and Envy. T1 is a team that I think people have wanted to see perform better. Ultimately, they fall in the first round. But still, I'm impressed with them for making it to this point after recently revamping their roster with some changes. And I think that they, like 100 Thieves, are trending upward, but might need a little bit more time. Complexity came into this one, shocking us all at the number 1 seed, ultimately losing to Envy, who's had a ridiculous hot hand. People said coming into the open qualifiers that the team to watch out for was actually going to be Envy, and that ended up being the case. They take the win over Complexity, and then they faced off against another surprise, Renegades, who not only made it to the bracket play, but also defeated Cloud9, knocking them out from qualifying for this event. They'll have to play through the UFG qualifier, and then they took Envy to a third and final map. So that in and of itself was wild. So these two teams that we end up with in the finals, I don't think anyone would have looked at this bracket initially, Simo, and selected these two teams as the teams to be playing in the finals tomorrow.
I mean, before the open qualifier even started, Doug and I were talking about that endlessly, you know, like who's going to make it all the way, because statistically speaking, if you're going to have 4 teams that qualify for the major and a couple more teams that qualify for the closed qualifier, that statistically increases your chances of being one of the other 4 teams that move on, right? You've gotten rid of some difficult opponents, but Cloud9 still remain, TSM still remain. It's going to be a tough closed qualifier for a lot of teams. It's going to be ridiculous for teams like Energy, like Beast Coast, like Andbox, like Moon Raccoons that want to come back swinging. But those chances are starting to get a little bit more limited with who is being sent back to the closed qualifier.
Well, and think about like Gen G.
Yeah.
Gen G, like they're freaking stacked. There were so many conversations that we had about top 4 teams are going to make it in on this one, and then
Mhm.
it's going to be a bit lighter. The competition, with everything on the line to make it to first strike during the UMG event, is going to be out of control.
Yeah, when we look at what UMG's event is going to look like with all of these teams making it through that maybe we didn't expect to see, because I think a team like Renegades and a team like Complexity, people expected to see them potentially be playing in that event, maybe having to fight through the open qualifier, but they're not bad teams, but we still had teams that didn't even make the closed qualifier. We talked about it already. We had Andbox get eliminated. We had FaZe get eliminated, NRG. And then there's some of your like more rising teams as well. Teams that we've seen pick up some big upset wins and more of the smaller tournaments. Teams like Elysium or a Mamba Mode Gaming type of team. So Moon Raccoons. Those types of teams that have, been fighting their way through the North American scene. Or honestly, a team like Cloud9 White. I think that Cloud9 White very likely could have been in this position. And then you've got those weird teams like Spot Up and the Slimy Boogerman who are unsigned that managed to make it into the closed qualifier but not make it into the playoff bracket that will very likely be disruptive in that tournament as well. So it's a bit of a coin toss right now to see who's going to be making it on further in the tournament. But with that, I must bid you guys adieu. It was a pleasure hanging out with you guys on broadcast. Is there anything you'd like to say before you hop off?
Hey, 100 Thieves, man. Holy cow, 100 Thieves. They're the complete package. They're only going to continue to get better. Keep an eye on that squad.
Simo?
Yeah. Just gotta make sure to not wear a jersey on stream anymore. The pitchforks. I want to keep those back at the farm. I don't want the pitchforks in the chat. I want the pitchforks back at the farm. So I'll definitely think twice before doing that again, or at least come with a 100 Thieves jersey for Map 2. But overall, jokes aside, this is what I love about Valorant: seeing upsets, seeing underdogs come through, seeing teams that we don't expect. The fact that this can happen within months is a beauty to see, because it was quite consistent in the Ignition series. Same teams were always at the end. We can always guess on TSM or Sentinels or Cloud9 making it all the way, or Gen G or whatever. But now we're seeing the new evolution of Valorant, and I just love it.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me throughout the show. We'll go ahead and let you go. We are just about ready to wrap things up for the day here, but there's one more thing I wanted to point your guys' attention to. It's actually right over here. So those of you that weren't in the chat earlier, you missed me foolishly decide to eat this one chip challenge deal. I was looking at this between, and if you were there, you may have noticed there's actually a scale on the back for how successful you are. And I know my lights are making it difficult to read, but they've got like 10 minutes, you're a lightweight. If you do it for an hour, you're a heavyweight. If you do it for, where am I at? I'm going the wrong direction here. If you do it for 30 minutes, you're a middleweight. I didn't even make it 5 minutes. I thought I was so cool, and it turns out I'm a featherweight. But at the end of the day, I can still turn this around because at least I did it. And I got to tell you, if you're thinking about trying it, just don't. It feels like someone sliced my mouth with a knife. It was terrible. It was excruciating, but I did it all for you, the viewers at home. We will be live again tomorrow with our grand finals. Things will be kicking off at 3 p.m. Eastern, and it'll be a best of 5. The first time we've ever seen a true and pure best of 5 in Valorant, and it's going to be real interesting. You guys are not going to want to miss it. It's 100 Thieves versus Envy, fighting for the #1 seed in the NA regional event with Riot in just a couple of weeks. Thank you guys for watching. We hope to see you then.